My mom ruined my celebration dinner by pointing at my fiancé and yelling, "He's only with you for your six-figure salary." Then she threw wine at me. My fiancé just sat there and said, "This is what you wanted." What they didn't know was, I'm a 33-year-old woman named Julia, and I've been with my fiancé, Derek, for 3 years. We had been planning to announce our engagement to my family at a nice dinner, just the 5 of us, my mom, dad, 2 brothers, and Derek. What was supposed to be a special celebration ended in complete chaos. It started out so well. Derek and I had been planning this dinner for weeks. We were both excited. I had been waiting for the right moment to tell my family we were engaged. After 3 years of dating, I felt like we were ready to take this step. I had always wanted my family's approval, especially from my mom, who, despite her quirks, had always been an important figure in my life. So, we made reservations at La Trattoria, this beautiful Italian place in the city. Private dining room. Soft lighting. Perfect atmosphere. I wanted it to be the perfect setting, with everyone relaxed, talking, and then bam, surprise. We're engaged. My heart was racing as Derek and I exchanged glances, knowing that this was a big moment. We had appetizers, wine, and everything was going according to plan. Derek was charming. He'd never had the best relationship with my mom, but he was doing his best. He even made small talk with my brothers, Michael and Peter, who were teasing him about his lack of Italian heritage. I laughed, Derek laughed, and even my dad, usually quiet and reserved, chuckled. For the first time, I felt like we were a family. Sure, my mom had been a little distant, but she was smiling. For once, things felt easy. But as the evening went on, I began to feel a shift. I could tell something was off with my mom. She wasn't speaking as much. She was staring at Derek too long, and when our main courses came out, she didn't say a word. It wasn't like her to be so quiet. I tried to push the feeling aside, telling myself it was just nerves. She hadn't said anything negative about Derek in a while. Maybe she was just tired. But no. I knew better. I had been here before. As the evening wore on, she sat back in her chair, eyes narrowed, and the tension between us grew palpable. Derek noticed too. He kept glancing at her, but didn't say anything. I caught his eye, trying to reassure him, but he didn't seem to believe me when I mouthed, "She's fine." Then, it happened. We had just finished the main course, everything was delicious, and I was about to bring up the engagement when my mom slammed her glass of wine onto the table. The loud sound echoed through the room. Everyone fell silent. My brothers shifted uncomfortably, and even Derek, who was usually calm, seemed taken aback. I felt a lump form in my throat, the kind you get when you know something's coming, but you have no idea just how bad it's going to be. Her voice, when it came, was sharp, full of accusation. "Julia, I need to ask you something," she began, staring at Derek, her eyes full of judgment. "Are you really sure about this? Are you sure this man loves you? Or is he just after your money?" I froze. My heart sank to my stomach. I felt like all the air had been siphoned out of the room. I didn't know how to respond. I turned to Derek, hoping he would say something, but he didn't. He just sat there, staring at her with a cool, emotionless expression. It was like he was waiting for me to handle it. I glanced around at my family. My father, who had been mostly silent throughout the evening, didn't speak. My brothers exchanged uncomfortable looks. My mom's words were hanging in the air like a cloud. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I asked, my voice a mix of confusion and hurt. She wasn't done. "You're a successful woman, Julia. You make 6 figures. And this man," she spat the word, "hasn't done a damn thing for himself. He's just using you. I've seen the way he looks at you, and it's obvious." The word stung. I could feel my face flushing with embarrassment. Derek didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve to be accused of using me, not after everything we'd been through together. The thought of my mom tearing us apart over some misguided jealousy made my stomach twist. "Mom, no," I began, but she wasn't finished. "You think I don't see it? All these years, I've seen how he acts around you. How he gets comfortable, takes advantage of your money, and uses your success as his ticket into this family." That's when I felt it, this overwhelming anger I had kept buried for so long. It was a mixture of rage and heartbreak, and it was spilling out. I had spent so many years trying to get my mom to accept Derek. To make her understand how much I loved him. And here she was, ruining the night for me, accusing him of things he didn't deserve. I looked at Derek, feeling this intense urge to protect him, to stand up for him. But I didn't know what to say. I wanted to yell, to scream at her, but I was stuck. Her words hit too close to home. And then, in a move I never expected, she stood up. Without any warning, she picked up her wine glass and threw it at me. I gasped as the red wine splashed across my white dress, soaking it instantly. My hair, my skin, everything was wet. I could feel the cold liquid trickling down my neck, and for a moment, I just stood there, unable to process what had just happened. Everyone was silent. My heart was pounding in my ears. My mom didn't even look sorry. She was shaking with anger. "I knew this would happen," she said, her voice shaking. "You're making a mistake, Julia. This man doesn't love you. He's just using you. And now, you've dragged all of us into this mess." I stood there, staring at her, speechless. My mom had always been overbearing, always had something to say about every little decision I made, but this was different. It was cruel. And for the first time, I realized that I couldn't keep trying to make her happy. Derek was still sitting there, completely calm, but I could see the tension in his jaw. He was angry, but not at me. At her. He didn't speak right away, and in that moment, I realized I had never truly seen Derek this cold before. I didn't know what he was thinking, but I was terrified he would leave. And then, after what felt like forever, he spoke. "This is what you wanted?" he asked, his voice surprisingly calm. There was no anger in his tone, just a quiet resolve. "To embarrass her? To make her feel like this?" I blinked, not knowing how to answer. His question hit me harder than anything my mom had said. I realized, in that moment, I had wanted her to approve. I had wanted her to see Derek the way I did. I wanted her to accept us, to support us. But I didn't have control over her actions. And what's worse, I had allowed her to dictate so many aspects of my life. "I didn't want this," I said, my voice barely a whisper, as I tried to hold back tears. Derek's eyes softened for a second, but his expression was still guarded. "Then what are you going to do about it, Julia?" he asked quietly. "Because if you want a future with me, this," he gestured to my mom, "isn't how it works. You can't keep letting her run things. You have to decide." The words hung in the air between us, and I felt the weight of them. My mom was never going to change. She would never accept Derek if I didn't put my foot down. The room was suffocating with silence, and I stood there in shock, still drenched in the wine my mom had thrown at me. Derek's words echoed in my mind. "What are you going to do about it, Julia?" His question wasn't just about my mom's behavior. It was about me. About us. My mom stood there too, arms crossed, eyes wild with anger. I could feel her judgment like a weight pressing on my chest, but it was her words, her belief that Derek only wanted me for my money, that cut deepest. I had spent so much time defending her to Derek, explaining away her behavior, trying to bridge the gap between them. But after tonight, I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't make excuses for her. Derek, on the other hand, remained stoic, his expression unreadable. He wasn't angry at me, at least not in the way I feared. But there was something more profound in his silence, a distance, an understanding that this wasn't just about a dinner gone wrong. It was about the boundaries I had never set with my mom, and now, those boundaries were being tested in front of all of us. I wiped my face with the napkin, but the sting of the wine on my skin was nothing compared to the sinking feeling in my gut. I glanced at my brothers, both of them visibly uncomfortable. Michael, the oldest, was shifting uncomfortably in his seat, glancing between my mom and me. Peter, the youngest, just sat there, mouth closed, looking more embarrassed by the minute. Neither of them spoke up, which wasn't surprising. Growing up, my brothers always took a back seat to whatever drama was unfolding, especially when it came to my mom. This was between me and her. I don't know what to say, I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper. I was trying to hold it together, but I was falling apart inside. My hands were shaking. The fact that Derek was sitting there, still, without moving, waiting for me to make a decision, made everything even harder. For a brief moment, I considered just leaving. We could walk out of the restaurant, go home, and pretend none of this had ever happened. But deep down, I knew that would only delay the inevitable. I couldn't continue to live like this. I couldn't let my mom dictate my happiness anymore. And I couldn't keep asking Derek to fight battles that weren't his to fight. Mom, I said, finding my voice as I looked her in the eyes. This has gone on long enough. I've tried, so many times, to make things work, but it's clear you're not going to change. I can't keep pretending you don't hurt me with your words, with your judgments. I can't keep asking Derek to prove himself to you over and over again. Patricia's face twisted with rage. So now you're taking his side? After everything I've done for you? I raised you, Julia. I gave up everything for you, and this is how you repay me? With him? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her how many times I had tried to make her proud, how many times I had sacrificed my own happiness to appease her. But I didn't. I couldn't. The anger bubbling up inside me needed to be contained, or it would only make things worse. I'm not taking his side, Mom. I'm taking my side, I replied, each word feeling like a weight lifting off my chest. And I'm not going to keep making excuses for you anymore. I love Derek, and that's not going to change. But I can't keep living in this toxic cycle with you. There was a long pause, and for a brief moment, I thought she might finally understand. But instead, her eyes flared with a new kind of fury. She threw her hands up, looking around the table, as if seeking validation from my brothers, from my dad, anyone. But no one said a word. I could feel Derek's presence behind me. It was strange. Normally, I would have looked to him for reassurance, but now, I felt like we were both on the same page. We both knew that my mother's behavior couldn't continue. Not like this. Fine, my mom spat, her voice sharp as glass. You want to make your own choices, Julia? Fine. But don't come crying to me when he leaves you, or when this whole thing falls apart. You'll regret it. Her words were cruel, and they hit me harder than I was willing to admit. But this time, I didn't flinch. I stood my ground, looking her dead in the eyes. Maybe I will. But at least I'll have tried. There was nothing more to say. My mom didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to understand. She had made up her mind long ago, and no amount of pleading or begging would change that. I turned to Derek. His face was unreadable, but there was a hint of something, relief? Maybe even a little pride. He hadn't said a word, but he had given me the space to say what I needed to say. I had to admit, I was grateful for that. He didn't push me. He let me handle this in my own way. I wiped my face with a napkin, still trying to process everything that had just happened. I could feel the weight of the wine stain on my dress, a physical reminder of the emotional mess we had just experienced. But strangely, it didn't matter. I wasn't going to let this ruin things for me. Not anymore. Well, my dad finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. Maybe it's time we all went home. I was grateful for the shift in tone. My dad had never been one to intervene in family matters, but his voice was like a lifeline in that moment. Maybe he was finally seeing what I had been dealing with all these years. Maybe, just maybe, he realized that my mom had crossed a line. Derek and I stood up, my hand still in his. I could feel his fingers tightening around mine, like he was trying to reassure me that we'd get through this. My mom, still fuming, stood up too. "You're making a huge mistake, Julia," she muttered, before walking toward the exit. My brothers followed her, their heads down, not even glancing back at me. I looked at Derek, who gave me a small smile, more of a sympathetic gesture than anything else. "You okay?" he asked quietly, his voice soft but steady. I don't know," I answered, my heart heavy. "I never thought it would come to this." "Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together," he said, squeezing my hand. I stood there for a moment, watching my family leave the restaurant. The click of the heels from my mom and brothers faded into the distance, and I felt a deep, unsettling emptiness settle in my chest. But there was something else, something I hadn't realized until that very moment. A weight was slowly lifting off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to make my mom happy. I wasn't fighting to get her approval. I wasn't worrying about how she'd respond or what she'd think of me. The realization was jarring at first, but the more I thought about it, the more liberating it felt. Derek and I walked out into the cool night air, his hand in mine. I hadn't even realized how tightly I was holding on to him until we were outside, and he gently pulled me to a stop. "You did good, Julia," Derek said quietly, looking at me with a calm intensity. His eyes were steady, and his voice held a quiet admiration. "You stood up for yourself. For us." I nodded, swallowing down the lump in my throat. I never realized how much I was letting her control me. I've let her manipulate me for years, and tonight was the last straw. He squeezed my hand. "You don't have to apologize for that. You've been trying for a long time to get her to see reason. But some people, no matter how hard you try, will never change." I exhaled a shaky breath, feeling a sense of peace slowly seep into my bones. I had been afraid of losing my mom, afraid of disappointing her, but Derek was right. She wasn't going to change. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm scared of what comes next. I know I can't just cut her off completely, but I don't know if I can keep putting up with this." Derek pulled me into a hug, and for a moment, I let myself lean into him. The steady rhythm of his heartbeat against my ear calmed me in a way I hadn't realized I needed. "We'll take it one step at a time," he said softly. "You don't have to decide everything all at once. But you've made it clear tonight where your priorities lie. And that's all I can ask." I took a deep breath, the weight on my chest lifting bit by bit. "I think I'm ready to start setting boundaries. With her. With everyone." The next few days passed in a blur. My mom didn't reach out to me. Neither did my brothers. For the first time in a long while, the silence between us felt suffocating. It was as if the rift between us had grown too wide to ignore. But I wasn't going to chase them. I wasn't going to beg for forgiveness or try to fix what was broken. Not anymore. Derek was supportive through it all, never pressuring me but always there when I needed him. We talked a lot in those days, about our relationship, about what we wanted for our future, about how we both saw family, and how we could navigate this new chapter together. A week later, my phone rang. It was my mom. My stomach twisted, but I didn't hesitate to pick it up. "Julia," her voice came through the phone, tight and strained. "We need to talk." I took a deep breath, already knowing what was coming. "I'm listening," I said, keeping my voice calm. I know I was harsh the other night," she started, her voice softer now, almost vulnerable. "I shouldn't have thrown the wine at you. And I shouldn't have said those things about Derek. I didn't say anything right away. I didn't know if I was ready to forgive her or if I even could. But I knew one thing for sure, I wasn't going to let her off the hook just because she apologized. Not this time." "I've been thinking about it," my mom continued, a sigh escaping her. "I've been hard on you, and I've been hard on him. Maybe I was wrong. I can't say that everything's going to be okay overnight, but I want to try. I don't want to lose you, Julia." Her words hung in the air. I was tempted to say something, anything, that would make everything go back to normal. But I didn't. I couldn't. I appreciate the apology, Mom, I said, my voice steady. But this isn't just about one night. It's about the years of you putting me down, of trying to control my life, of not accepting the people I love. I've let it slide for far too long. And I can't keep doing that. She was silent for a long moment, and I wondered if she would hang up. But then she spoke, quieter this time. I never meant to hurt you, she said softly. I just wanted you to be happy. I guess I don't know how to show that without being difficult. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. I get it, Mom. But I need you to understand something. I don't need your approval to be happy. I'm not asking you to like Derek or anyone else. I just need you to respect my choices. If you can't do that, then I need space to figure out how to move forward. I could feel the tension on the other end of the line. I'll try, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll try to do better. I don't want to lose my daughter. I don't want to lose you either, Mom. But this is my life. And I need to live it on my terms, not yours. We both fell into a heavy silence before I finally said, let's take it one step at a time. A few weeks later, things started to shift. Slowly. I didn't rush to fix everything with my mom right away. It was too soon, and I knew it would take time for both of us to heal from what had happened. But there was progress. My mom called me more often, and while there were still moments of tension, we were learning how to communicate better. We didn't talk about Derek much, but the fact that she wasn't constantly tearing him down felt like a small victory. Then one evening, as Derek and I were sitting on the couch watching a movie, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. She had sent a picture of herself and my brothers having dinner together, smiling, looking happy. Beneath it, she wrote, I miss you. Let's try again soon. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Derek, sitting beside me, wrapped his arm around my shoulders. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said, glancing up at him. Yeah, I'm okay. I think we're going to be okay. And for the first time in a long while, I truly believed it. In the end, it wasn't about exacting revenge or trying to hurt anyone. It was about reclaiming my life and my peace of mind. It was about standing up for myself and the people I loved. And though my relationship with my mom was far from perfect, it had shifted. It was no longer one-sided. I had finally taken control of my happiness. And as for Derek? Well, he stayed by my side through all of it, never demanding anything, never pushing me, just quietly supporting me as I made the hard choices. Together, we were moving forward, one step at a time.